Good evening, everybody. We're finally here.
Evening.
So, um, so how we're gonna do it is we're gonna play the book and then we're gonna have a discussion afterwards. Um, yeah. So, I'm gonna play the book now. We're on chapter 7.
Models and mentors. I recently sat with a dad in his mid-40s. He's a pastor and is contemplating his future. While talking about his kids, he commented he worried about how they perceived the work he did in light of how burned out he was. He voiced concern that not only would it impact how his boy saw a man's vocational life, but more importantly, how it might impact them spiritually because he worked in vocational ministry. His wife challenged him to consider meeting with some pastors in their 60s who had been in vocational ministry for decades and were still in happy marriages and engaged with their adult children. He sat and thought for a long period of time and realized he couldn't identify a single man. He was heartbroken by this reality. He knew plenty of pastors who'd left the ministry and gone into other fields. He knew several who'd lost their marriage and countless who had fractured relationships with their adult children or no relationship at all. He was in no way saying the pastor his wife described didn't exist. He simply realized how uncommon it is for those relationships and for passion for pastoral ministry to still be intact. He was burdened not to be in close proximity to another man who'd walked the same path and was farther down the road. We processed what it felt like to stumble into this reality and how much he wanted to be able to offer something different to his own children. We all need models and mentors. It's important to have other parents around us who are walking out the same season we're in. People who understand the sleep deprivation of having a newborn, the tantrums of a toddler, or the eye rolling of a teenager. Parents who are in the thick of it with us and understand the daily challenges we are facing. We also need parents who've traveled ahead of us and can cast a vision for what's to come. One of my dearest friends is a decade ahead of me. My 3 children are currently in college. His 3 are all married adults. I'm on the front side of being an empty nester. He is a beloved grandfather. I need his wisdom and experience. He has made it available to me in every season of my kids' lives, from teething to dating, from the first day of kindergarten to the first day of college, and everything in between. He has fielded over 1,000 questions in our 30-year friendship. And he reminds me often that you never stop being a parent. Just because your kids move out and become adults who are parents themselves, you never stop worrying or wondering how they are. You still lose sleep when they struggle, and you still want them to come home. My wise friend has challenged me to trust and listen more, to react and regret less, and to walk out the wisdom of the serenity prayer in my journey as a parent. One of my hopes is that through transformative relationships like this, I'm growing and changing. I recently heard a dad say he hoped his kids would one day say he was someone who was aware of his failures and transformed over time. He hoped his kids could identify the difference between who he was when they were young and who he became over the decades they knew him. He hoped they would see what Jesus did to him through prayer and community, and that it would give them hope for who they could become in Christ. I talk often about the time I spend in the company of wise friends. I hope my kids could identify my 3 closest friends and how their lives have shaped my own. How these friends have mentored me into being a man, a husband, and a father. I believe they've watched how their grandfather, my father, has shaped me. I am still learning from watching his example. We all need people who've walked ahead of us. We need multi-generational community in our neighborhoods, churches, and families. I worry this is happening less than ever. I worry how many churches across the country are led by individuals in their late 20s and early 30s. Let me be clear in saying I believe those individuals have something extraordinary to offer, but they also have much to learn. I'm incredibly grateful to be pastored by 2 men in their 60s and 70s. I'm thankful my boss is in her early 70s and my dad is in his late 70s. I have neighbors and friends who are 5, 10, and 20 years ahead of me. I'm grateful to be surrounded by so much wisdom and lived experience. Proverbs reminds us of the importance of this. Listen, friends, to some fatherly advice. Sit up and take notice so you'll know how to live. I'm giving you good counsel. Don't let it go in one ear and out the other. When I was a boy at my father's knee, the pride and joy of my mother, he would sit me down and drill me. Take this to heart. Do what I tell you. Live. Sell everything and buy wisdom. Forage for understanding. Don't forget one word. Don't deviate an inch. Never walk away from wisdom. She guards your life. Love her. She keeps her eye on you. Above all and before all, do this. Get wisdom. Write this at the top of your list. Get understanding. Throw your arms around her. Believe me, you won't regret it. Never let her go. She'll make your life glorious. She'll garland your life with grace. She'll festoon your days with beauty. Dear friend, take my advice. It will add years to your life. I'm writing out clear directions to Wisdom Way. I'm drawing a map to Righteous Road. I don't want you ending up in blind alleys or wasting time making wrong turns. Hold tight to good advice. Don't relax your grip. Guard it well. Your life is at stake. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 1 to 13, the message. A collective. Wisdom comes from lived experience. Wisdom also comes from surrounding yourself with folks who outpace you. I believe much of the wisdom I've collected was birthed out of marrying out of my league, befriending folks who outrun me, and working alongside a team that outperforms me. I'm simply surrounded by people who are smarter, stronger, wiser, and more talented than I am, and it has served me beautifully. I could spend a lot of time swimming in envy and jealousy, but I'd prefer to just learn and let their collective talents spill out onto me. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 14. New King James Version. As the famous saying goes, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This would be a great conversation to have with your son throughout his development. Ask him to identify the 5 people he spends the most time with and to reflect on their influence, good or bad. Ask him to identify the 5 people you spend the most time with. See if he's on target or not in his assessment. Then speak to the influence of your top 5 and something unique you've learned or are learning from each of them. I mentioned earlier that one of my grandfathers was a builder. He fought in World War II, and the flag from his funeral is framed in my office. I also have a collection of his antique tools that I place throughout my home and in my office. From him, I learned about bravery and building. My other grandfather loved to fish. I have a tackle box he gave me as a boy. It has my name on it and is the only thing I own with his handwriting. From him, I learned about patience and endurance. My father-in-law was one of the most gracious, warm, engaging men I've had the pleasure of knowing. He lived the words of never meeting a stranger. Watching him over the decades taught me the value of engaging others and helping people feel seen and known. My own father is one of the most kind-hearted men I could have hoped to spend a lifetime with. He was a passionate educator throughout my life, and even more passionate about his faith. From him, I developed a love of learning, the strength of curiosity, and evidence of what it looks like to walk with God for 7 decades. Those are just my fathers and grandfathers. I could easily list the impact of my wife, my boss, my colleagues, my pastor, and my dearest friends. Being in close proximity to these people has profoundly shaped who I am and has been a wellspring of wisdom and lived experience. Just as I've been positively influenced by these individuals, boys can be negatively shaped by the people in their lives. I sit with parents on a weekly basis who have concerns about their son's friends or girlfriends. We can't choose our kids' friends, but we can help them make connections. I've known parents who tried to force a breakup with a girlfriend and created a Romeo and Juliet type of situation. While we can't choose those relationships, we certainly have the power to influence the kind of time they spend with them while they're under 18. I challenge parents who have concerns over the lack of supervision or oversight at another family's home to simply say to their sons, I don't know the parents well enough for you to spend time there, but you are welcome to have your friend over to our house. Or, I suspect we may have different rules or ideas about what's okay and what's not, so I'm agreeing to you hanging out here, but not there. We aren't limiting the opportunity to have a relationship, but we are creating a safer context for time together. Many boys are angered by this response and will refuse the time. My experience is they typically give in over time if the relationship means enough to them or it works itself out. Many boys are aware of the friends who'd violate the boundaries in their own home and simply don't want to deal with the hassle and consequences of what that would mean for them. You can treat a dating relationship the same way. Keep welcoming her into your home if you have concerns about how they will spend time together, and then have ownership over the oversight and supervision. I call this a no-yes response. You're saying no to the location and yes to the relationship. The yes allows you to get to know the friend or girlfriend and discern more about the relationship. It's important to note that some boys will find their way to dangerous and destructive relationships. I've consulted with parents of young boys who discover inappropriate touch has taken place with a peer, and it becomes necessary to draw strong boundaries around that relationship and seek needed support. I've worked with adolescent boys who stopped being boyfriends and ended up as crisis counselors for adolescent girls. She was using the relationship as a hostage crisis, threatening self-harm and requiring him to be her lifeline. I've known boys who have friends that won't respect the boundaries in their home and bring illegal substances on the premises. At any point, your son is in the way of harm. It's not only appropriate, but necessary to intervene. When harm is in the equation, it's no longer a no-yes, but a no-no, with the priority being on his safety. It's vital to distinguish between relationships that have a negative bent to them and those that are unsafe. Other voices. In the same way we are thinking intentionally about the peer influences in our sons' lives, we want to think strategically about the adult voices as well. It's common that other adults can get away with speaking into his life in a unique way. It's part of why many boys perform consistently for teachers and coaches while pushing hard against parents. I remind parents of adolescents that it's common our voices as parents will get softer and the voices of his peers and other adults get louder. Think about teachers, coaches, youth pastors, and friends' parents who had a strong presence in your own adolescence. Consider professors, campus ministers, and other adults who influenced you throughout the college years. When our voice gets softer, it's tempting to talk more and talk louder. Neither approach is effective. The better response is to put your son in the way of other healthy adult voices. Think strategically about the leagues where your son will participate in sports and the kinds of coaches those leagues attract. When exploring churches, spend time with the adults who run the children's and youth ministries. If it seems difficult to find those trusted adult voices, consider hiring them. Yes, you heard that correctly. I worked with parents years ago whose son had become resistant to youth group, and it had become a battle for the family that wasn't worth fighting. This young man played one sport that ran for 8 weeks. The other 10 months of the year, he was void of other adult voices, except for some great teachers who only saw him an hour a day during the school year. His parents reached out to a campus minister friend at a local college and asked for the names of some trusted college-age boys who might want to earn some extra money. They interviewed 3 boys and hired one with a group of 6 parents to form a small group for their sons. They ended up meeting together for 3 years of high school and formed foundational relationships. This college-age young man benefited from mentoring and some extra cash, and this group of adolescent boys benefited from the investment of a really cool college kid who was walking with Christ a season beyond them. I worked with a single mom who joined forces with 4 other single moms to hire a young married man at their church to lead a book club for their 5th graders. The moms rotated hosting the club in their homes and prepared food, and the boys benefited from spending time in the company of a healthy adult male who was interested and invested in each of them. He was modeling what it looked like for males to become readers and learners, to have thoughtful conversation, and to listen without judgment. There were layers of social and emotional benefit through the simplicity of this experience for these young boys, all of whom were growing up without fathers. I know another family who hired a great college kid to form a church league basketball team for their sons. Basketball was simply the vehicle for bringing these guys together. Practice turned into practice plus burgers. Games led to Saturday hangs. The boys finished their last season by ordering vintage uniforms online. They dressed for every game like players straight out of the 1950s. The photos were priceless. The mentoring that took place was the real victory of this experience. Be as strategic, creative, and prayerful as you can in ushering in other voices throughout your son's development. His capacity to hear from these voices is extraordinary. Let's capitalize on this reality. Media voices. As captivated as boys are with all things technology and media, let's be strategic in capitalizing on it as well. This will take some guidance and exposure, left to their own devices, pun intended, Boys may not find their way to the most constructive voices, whether it's music or YouTube. Sadly, many boys gravitate toward the lowest common denominator. It grieves me that with all the great music out there, boys can tend to huddle around a small handful of artists who primarily use profanity, elevate drug culture, and demoralize women in their lyrics. Unfortunately, these can be the same ingredients with those they follow on YouTube and TikTok. Use this fascination as an opportunity to develop critical thinking and put good boundaries in place on their devices with explicit content. Sometimes boys simply need more exposure to other options. Thankfully, there are still great voices on social media using that platform for good. There are strong voices in the athletic and entertainment space who aren't using those same negative ingredients to produce content. The same goes for movies and television shows. Plenty of dark content out there, alongside some great storytelling that can be a vehicle for developing critical thinking alongside healthy mentoring. Boys can be mentored through fictional characters. As you watch shows and movies together as a family, dissect the characters and identify areas of strength and weakness. Highlight characters who have qualities that resonate with you, a quality you embody or one you hope to acquire. Do this with books and media. Allow these voices to be tools for growth and development. 42 is an incredible movie that well illustrates how we are enculturated into an understanding of something. The movie is a beautiful portrayal of the life of Jackie Robinson, who became the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. There's a heartbreaking scene where a young boy is seated in the stands next to his father. As Jackie steps onto the field, his father and the crowd begin shouting horrific racist statements. The young boy is noticeably troubled. He sits with the discomfort and then tragically begins chanting the same racist declarations as his father. It's a reminder of how mentoring works, how powerful a force it can be for good or bad. It's also a reminder that racism is taught, not born. The scene would be a powerful teaching tool on so many levels for boys. Have them identify individuals with these same qualities in their own life. Ask boys about their encounters with racism. Use this important story to help boys make needed connections. A new framework. When I was growing up, every athletic experience ended with a handshake or a high five. I have 1,000 memories of completing a game or match and walking to the center of the court to shake hands or high five the opposing team. My coach would always shake hands with the opposing coach. No matter how the game went down, regardless of who won or lost, everyone involved would shake hands or high five at the end. This started in elementary school and went all the way through high school. This felt like an important way to end a competition, a commitment to civility and respect, the acknowledgement that it was just a game. I certainly remember times of not wanting to go through the motions of congratulating a team that had defeated mine. I'm grateful I was required to do so anyway. I think it was a useful practice on so many levels. I don't see that practice as often anymore. I don't see this demonstration of civility and respect as much in youth sports today. In fact, I've seen some of the worst of human behavior happen on an athletic court or field. And when I say worst behavior, it wasn't usually from the young players, but from the grown-ups. I once worked with a divorced family, and the father was suspended from attending his son's football games. The son was in 5th grade at the time. His dad would scream profanity from the stands until a referee came to the side of the field and threatened to have him leave. He'd then cuss out the referee until the head of school approached him with a warning. After the 3rd warning, he received a letter from the board of trustees at his son's private school informing him he could no longer attend school-sponsored athletic events. I've heard countless boys tell stories of their coaches being dragged off the field or court during a game and what it was like to watch that happen. Recently, I saw a post online from the West Marin Little League with reminders from your child. It read, "I'm a kid. It's just a game. My coach is a volunteer. The officials are human. No college scholarships will be handed out today." It's disappointing to think we've reached a point where we need visual reminders for the grown-ups to allow kids to have a full and beneficial experience in youth sports. It's heartbreaking to know this kind of modeling is happening across the country. Kids learn more from observation than information. They desperately need to see good modeling. They need adults who model winning and losing. They need grown-ups who are implementing the kinds of healthy coping skills we've been talking about throughout this book, on and off the field, in the everyday moments of life. Sadly, many boys are witnessing men who are in pain and causing pain. Often a boy lacks skills simply because he hasn't seen enough evidence of something, a failure of imagination. I once heard it said that discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. Boys simply need to see the grown-ups around them modeling how to navigate the discomfort of life this side of heaven. Intentional practices. 1. Top 5 influences. Ask your son to identify the 5 people he spends the most time with. Who are the 5 outside of family? 2. Identify your village. It really does take a village to raise a child. Make a list of the folks in your village in this particular season. Who are the other trusted adult voices in your son's life? Teachers, coaches, extended family, other parents, youth pastors, scoutmasters, etc. 3. Media voices. Ask your son to list the voices in media he spends the most time with: artists, musicians, professional athletes, entertainers, influencers, etc. Ask him what drew him to their message and what he believes each of them stands for. 4. Books and movies. Make a list of books to read and movies to watch that invite boys to experience healthy modeling and mentoring through characters. Check out @Raising Boys and Girls on Instagram for a list of great books and movies for kids from toddlers to teen that include great stories and characters to study. Common Sense Media also has a list of great movies and shows to watch with kids based on ages and stages of life. 5. Pay it forward. It's not only important to identify folks who've been great mentors, but to think about mentoring others. Ask your son, whatever his age, to identify one person he believes he can influence for good. Have him share a memory of a time when he served as a mentor to someone in his path.
Okay, so that was chapter 7.
Yay!
Yay! And now we're gonna have a quick discussion to talk about what caught our eye the most, any feedback or advice that we have for each other. And so I'll just start with my first one,
Yes.
in which is you never stop being a parent.
Very good. Very
At
good.
18, you're still a parent, dealing with the same things that you were as a child, the worrying, the worrying, the staying up late, like he said. I'm not there yet, but And your thoughts on you never stop being a parent? If anybody would like to join the conversation, you can press to invite yourself, and I'll invite you if you want to talk about the book or the advice on raising emotionally strong boys.
Come on in. You're welcome.
Okay, so the next thing I wrote down was making sure you have friends with wisdom and getting people that have had more years on you and making sure you're talking to them and the healthy ones that you can model after so you can learn from them.
Yes.
Never walk away from wisdom. Get an understanding. I really liked it, what he was saying about that. Getting smart, stronger, wiser, and I put equals growth. Having those people around you and engulfed in people that are wisdom as well, and how much you can learn from them just being around them.
Yes.
Jump in whenever you're ready.
Yes. You said a lot of my favorites. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things that jumped out to me, you did touch on, but I'm a serenity prayer person to my heart. It comes up and comes in handy almost daily for multiple different reasons. And I put that in the chat. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I
Mhm.
believe that is so powerful when you really don't know what to do. And there are a lot of occasions where you, as a parent, are not supposed to do anything but be there. So, and that takes time, and it does take, I call it a village. It's a village for the children, it's a support group for the parents. I like that they said get with some people that are in your season,
Mhm.
so that you can be relatable, for the ones with newborns. Talk to some people that got them because y'all kind of on the same schedule and in the same mind frame, maybe a little tired,
Mhm.
and also the people who have obviously further along in the season assist as well, which you spoke on already.
Season
He did.
people.
Yes, yes, there go that word. He talked a lot about Proverbs and pulled out many things. You hit one of them. And I remember hearing about that way back in the day. Basically, if you're the smartest one in the group, you need a new group. That's
Mhm.
kind of what that, another way to say it.
Mhm.
And I believe that because if I don't know how to do something or don't know how to do it something well, and I
Mhm.
get with some people that do it extremely well, then I'm going to learn from them. I'm
Mhm.
going to grow, like you said. He also spoke on the no yes response, which
Mhm.
is so interesting to
Mhm.
me. So that you're not saying no completely,
Mhm.
but you have some boundaries to this thing, be it a
Mhm.
friendship or relationship. And I've never heard that term,
Mhm.
but that's a good one. Like that
Mhm.
jumped out at me. What about
Mhm.
you with that?
Yes, that jumped out to me too. What he was saying about a relationship. No to maybe the location, but yes to
Yeah.
the relationship and getting to know
Yes.
this person. But because they might not have what we have or understanding
The
like we
same
have, it's probably
rules.
best to do it
Yeah.
here. I'm not comfortable with you doing
Yes.
it there, but they could come
Yes.
over here. And I agree with
Yeah.
that wholeheartedly. I felt that's like one of my rules that before I knew
Yeah.
his term, the no yes.
Yes.
Um, yes. And then also knowing when it's a hard no, when it's
Yes.
harm, when it's just a no go.
Yeah.
It has to be a hard no, a no no. He said a no no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that serenity prayer can help with those moments too. You
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
um he also talked about the boundary lines with the phones, which I'm
Mhm.
around a young lady that really is good with that, way better
Mhm.
than I am, about what the children are watching, and giving them other options.
Mhm.
We're such in a technical world right now that it's really, really easy for the whole family to be on their phones,
Mhm.
but given other choices, I think they said, like
Mhm.
going outside or,
Mhm.
as a young lady around me does very well, getting them into some other activities and things like
Mhm.
that. Just give something else other than,
Mhm.
all the time.
Mhm.
And not to keep going, but it also talked about the television.
Mhm.
And the young lady I'm around, she is really good with that as well. She checks in on what they're watching and different things like that. And I think that's so awesome, though,
Mhm.
because it's really easy to walk away and go cook
Mhm.
and not check on that show or,
Mhm.
things like that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, this
What
book, these chapters are good. Go right ahead.
I was gonna say what a lot of people saying now in the um world anyways is that
Yeah.
like technology is basically a babysitter and it is easy
Mm,
to let them
mm,
have that while you get some things done, get some quiet, get some independent time to yourself, but it's like so important to make sure that you're looking into that, seeing what's on
yeah.
and what's the message, because even like with YouTube, you could think something is kid friendly, but it got underlying messages that you can miss if you're not
Yes.
on top of that.
Fully focused.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Very good point. Go right ahead.
So the next thing I have is to, well, this is what I put after listening to it. I put
Yeah.
hire with quotation marks, um, a, a hired village. Sometimes you have to hire your
Mm.
village. So,
Sure. Sure.
and that it's best to lead the children or boys to healthy
Mm-hmm.
adult voices. So sometimes
Mm.
you gotta take them to the healthy adults and the healthy,
Absolutely.
yeah, you gotta hire a village, quote
Environment and
unquote,
safe and yes.
and find
No, no.
the
Yep.
ones that
Yeah.
are talking about, productive things, healthy things,
Yes.
and
Yes.
role models.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's what I was like. Our
Absolutely.
boys need to see models. They need to see role models of things that they can copy and the good
Yeah.
things, because there's gonna
Yeah.
be bad influences always,
Yeah.
and you gotta
All over the
be
place.
real proactive of getting them around healthy models,
Absolutely.
things that they can see
Absolutely.
that's healthy to balance it
Yes.
out. Kind of like, you want them to see more healthy than not, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to
Yes.
hire the village. Sometimes you got to hire the help with that. And
Yes.
I liked how he said that they
Absolutely.
hired a college boy and that
Yes.
sprung into different things, them going to play basketball, them building a relationship amongst males. I like
Yes.
that.
Raising emotionally strong boys is the book. Yes, and they have some. Oh, he went into watching a specific movie he named. Forgive me, I don't remember it, but there was
I
a
think it's called
scene.
42.
Okay, thank you. 42. There was a scene in there, and some slurs were being pointed out, and he was pointing out to the fact that some of this stuff is taught, racism and different things like that. And to ask our children some of these questions that we don't think to ask all the time, like identify some people that may have that type of thing in it, or type of atmosphere so that they can even get used to pointing out what do they want to be like and around and what don't they want to be like and around, so I thought that was huge.
Yes.
And you mentioned the mentor me not excuse me the men an example. Even having that example of a person that's able to navigate through some feelings, because I find a lot of times generationally and different gaps in age groups, that people don't always get to see the process of getting through something. They only see one emotion or another. The rest, back in the day was kind of hidden. And I love the fact that they say, the boys being around men who make it through those moments is huge. What do you how can you learn if you don't have an example?
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah. This was a really good chapter.
Yeah.
Chapter 7 called Models and Mentors.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah. And then they had some take home work for us before we finalize. So if people get a chance to have these conversations with their boys and or their children, one of them was name your top 5 influences. You know, who are the other voices that our children are listening to, be it a church member or a pastor, or what that looks like. Another one was list who they listen to, that social media, the music, and why. That starts great conversations that may lead into a conversation about, such and such happened to me, and this is why I relate to this song or this thing. So this is huge for things that when we're looking for stuff to talk about with our teenagers, our young people, these are great questions. The next was list the books and movies that they're really into. And then I heard pay it forward. So if somebody took some time with me, I should take some time, not necessarily with that same person. If I can, great, but pay it forward, give it to somebody coming behind me to the best of my ability. So I really appreciate you putting this on. Go ahead.
And one more was the to identify your village.
Oh, yes. That's good. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
those are
and
really
and
good.
and what do you get from them so that you can identify that? Yeah. And what exactly do you, learn from them or get from them? Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. We might
Always.
miss next Thursday due to prior obligations, but
Absolutely.
Thursdays are the days that I'm going to try to stick to for our virtual book club. So
Yes.
if you guys ever want to join in, chime in, take a look at the book. It is at the library and some of the library apps. Um, so yes, that was the end of today's chapter.
Yay. Beautiful.
Yay!
Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time and hosting.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Have a blessed and lovely night.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night. Bye
You
bye.
too.